Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Takoy,
Here.
Dublin, Shaylin Dunn,
Here.
Brianna Gardner, Nadia Hamilton,
Present.
Ronnie Johnson,
Here.
Devin Stanley, Joshua Stubbs.
Here.
Okay, and we do have a quorum.
Welcome to the August 28th, 2024 meeting of the Daytona Beach Youth Advisory Board. We're happy to have you with us tonight. At this time, we have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Takoy. I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go ahead.
Okay. We will now move on to item number 3, the approval of minutes for the May 29th and the June 26th meetings of the Youth Advisory Board. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay. If none, may I get a motion and a second to approve those minutes?
Yes.
So moved by Takoy. A second? Okay. And second by Mr. Stubbs. And then if you'll just ask all those in favor, say aye.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Okay. How many is that? What?
Okay,
4?
go ahead. Yes, he is.
We will now move on to item number 4, presentations. Madam Clerk, please introduce the presentations.
Okay, tonight we have our esteemed mayor, Derek L. Henry, to present to the board. And Mayor is going to talk a little bit about public service, and then he's going to ask you guys, or he's going to explain to you guys what the commission's going to look out for from this board.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dublin, Ms. Dunn, Stubbs, and Johnson, Ms. Hamilton, Board Secretary, Board Chairman, Mr. Jackson, City Attorney, and our clerk, Ms. LaMagna. First of all, I would like to commend each of you for accepting the challenge and the charge to work in this capacity in your city. As the mayor of Daytona Beach, when I first ran for mayor, about 13 years ago, I made one commitment, and that was a commitment really to try and make Daytona Beach a city that is worthy of your dreams. And by that, I have always meant that it's my goal to make this a city that you can be proud of, that you could pursue your dreams in. So in other words, whatever it is that you want to do, we want to try to have that in this city. Doesn't mean that you expect everyone to live here, but you certainly would want to be a city that when you grow up and if you go out to other parts of the world, that when you at least retire, that you would say, this is a place that I want to return home to. And so that to me is a good goal for a city. And that's really what I've tried to do all 12 years that I've been elected. Being a mayor of a city, and as you guys are learning, I know that you know that we have what's called a council manager form of government, which basically means, and you guys have seen this, because I've seen some of what you've been looking at and talking about. We have a city manager who's responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the city. As the mayor, I'm a person who my chief responsibility first is to manage the meeting, because the meeting is where the business of the city is conducted. And but the day-to-day operations of a city, to make a city run, to make sure that your police are where they're supposed to be, your fire is where it's supposed to be, and the roads are being paved, and all the things that happen in the city happens. The manager looks after that, and then you have a city attorney's office who looks after the legal affairs. But our job as a commission is to establish the budget, to create an agenda. So the things that are important that happen, people think sometimes that because you have a city manager that you don't really have a say in that. But really you have ultimate say in what's really important. Because if paving your streets is the most important thing, then you make that the budget. If having a youth advisory council is important, then you put that in the budget. And you say, this is what I expect. If it doesn't happen, then you hold those people who are expected to make those things happen accountable. Starts with the manager and his whole team. So if you are elected in this form of government, you should never assume that what you think or what you believe is less important. You have to believe that it has ultimate significance for the city. And so I wanted to make certain that I pointed that out to you, because while I have a permanent full-time job for the last 33 years as a public educator, teacher, coach, administrator, this job is just as demanding. So I burn both ends of the candle on a daily basis, caring for the city, caring for a school, and I'm proud of both. And people often ask me, which is more important? Well, they're both kind of the same. They're both service. And to me, they're both about making our city, our community, a better place and a better space to live in. I would be remiss if I didn't say to you all that, this youth advisory council was something that sometimes takes years for things to happen. About 8 years ago, I think it was, I took a team of 4 students who were maybe 18, 19 years old to Los Angeles, California, where we went for a conference to learn how to implement youth advisory councils. There are many ways to implement this. So after 8 years, you all are the first, and you're making history in Daytona Beach. But I think that your role is important in what you're doing. But it's also important that you know that I think that the city of Daytona Beach really values young people. But it's very hard sometimes to get young people to be engaged. And why is that? Well, it's really because you're building your life. You're planning, you're preparing. And when I was 18, I was probably like all of you, busy in school and engaged in things. But I didn't see being engaged in the city as something that was important until I got a little older, and then I learned how the city works and how it impacts the day-to-day lives of residents. But this advisory council is something that the commission has wanted for a long time, but that ultimately is the staff's job to conduct and carry out what our vision is. Sometimes that takes a short time, sometimes it takes a long time. But when it happens, you celebrate. And here's the tough part about being mayor. Everything that's bad when you're the mayor is blamed on you. Don't matter whether it's your fault, somebody else's fault. Everything. But when you do the job to the best of your ability, as I try to do, you live with that. Because while I didn't start out this way, but I learned to do this. Because the first 3-4 years, I realized, man, every time something bad happens, everybody's blaming me. So I said, I started to realize that just comes with the job. You ever hear someone say, feels like the weight of the world is on you, whether it's yours or not? Well, what I learned to do after that was that you take the bad and you own it, and that which you can fix, you try to fix. That which is outside of your purview, that's your control, you release it, and you try to let people know, well, I don't control that, but I will use my voice to influence it. Because a lot of times people want you to use your voice because the mayor's voice is an important voice in a community. It is probably the most important voice of any voice in the community overall. When you just look at when people are looking to hear from someone or they want to get the opinion of someone. So it's and I mean that as a city. That's the voice that people say, well, go to the mayor's office. So what I learned was own the bad things and say, this is not good in our community. This is what I believe we should do to try to fix it. This is what we can do to fix it. This is what we cannot do to fix it. Now, let's work together to see if we can fix it. Whether it's in my purview or whether it's not in my purview. But guess what? I also learned that everything good, I can take credit for it. Okay? So I learned two things. Okay? When something's good, I learned to own that. So when Mainland High School won the state championship in basketball, what did I do? I owned it. When you all were, how many of y'all go to Mainland? Anybody? 4 of you. When you all went from a C to a B, what did I do? I owned it. Okay? So you own it, which means that, and it doesn't mean that it's mine or I get the credit, but it just means that it's my city. It's happening in my town. So I promote it, and I want to make sure that the whole world knows that this is what's going on in Daytona Beach. It's not just that someone got mugged yesterday or that someone had their car stolen the day before or that because something happened at a school. And I own all of those things because I want those things to be fixed and not to occur over and over again. But everything that's good, I own that too. And then I celebrate it and I promote it so that that becomes the driving identity of our community. Because while the job of the mayor is many things, and I thought it was a few things when I ran for office, but like any job, when you get in the job, you then realize quickly that this job is not exactly what I thought it was. Okay, so I learned that it was much more to the job than I thought. I learned how to adjust to all of that, but I also have learned that one of my chief jobs, probably as much as important as any job, is to be the chief cheerleader and encourager for our city. Okay? That means you put your voice, you put your imprint on everything that's good. And then everything that's bad, you put your voice on that too. And so you ever heard people talk about spinning things? Yeah, mayors have to spin things. So we have to spin it in the right direction. Sometimes that's verbally, you say things, but by spinning it, for me, I usually mean I'm going to spin this and try to turn it into something for our good. Something that we can learn from as a community. Something that'll make us a better space and a better place. So those are some thoughts that I have and the ways that I approach this job. I never, first of all, approach the job as I'm the mayor and I'm going to lead from the back. I approach the job, and there's several ways to lead. And I think if you could take anything away from what I'm saying today, sometimes you lead in life from the front, sometimes you lead in life from the rear. By that, sometimes you're out front and you're the leader and you're galvanizing people, bringing people with you. Other times you're in the back, and by leading, you're pushing people, and you're pushing, and you're leading that way by you're pushing the train forward. Okay? As the mayor, I tend to try to lead from the front, but I don't just get out front. Before I get out front, I try to get the necessary information. I try to get the necessary support, and I try to get the right people on my team so that we can go together. And I never, ever, while I said I take credit for things, I don't mean that I personally take credit. I let Daytona Beach take credit. Because at the end of the day, this is not my job. The job of the mayor belongs to the people. And I'm going to be the mayor for a period of time, and then I'm going to leave that position, and I'm going to go from the front to where? The back. And all of the mayors that I know who have been mayors in the past, that's what they've done. In terms of the city, they went from the front to the back, and then they push from the back, and they encourage, they call, they offer resources. So always remember that you can always lead, whether it's from the front, the back, the middle. There's always space for you to lead. Now, I guess she asked that I would present as to what I would like to see from this board. Well, the first thing I would like to see from this board is a serious form of input, give input. figure out what areas of the city are important to you. What things you want to see the city do to be responsive to your needs. The second thing I would like to see is you to be involved, to find things as a board to be engaged in, to volunteer for, to make sure that your presence is felt, that your voice is heard. Then I want you to be what we call ombudsman. An ombudsman is a person who basically sort of encourages other people and makes things easier for the community. So I kind of want you all to be voices for the city, for the community, to make sure that you know what's going on. So when someone says that, oh, Daytona ain't got nothing going on, it's a boring place. Well, I know that that's not true. I can refute that on 100 different fronts. But I know that because I study the city, I pay attention to all the things that we offer, all the things that we do. Well, I want you to do that. I want you to know the city. I want you to know how to speak on behalf of the city and how to encourage other young people to get involved. And then find some spaces and some ways to have some things that are created that you want to see us do that would make young people happy, that would make young people feel as though this is their community. And then if you create those things, even if you lack funding, even if you don't have the resources for them, then I would like for you to call me and say, listen, Mayor, we've got this idea. Can you help us? Call some of the other commissioners. Can you help us? And whether I have the money or not, maybe I might find someone who can volunteer, who can donate, who can, but so figure out what are the things that young people would like to see done in the community and done on the part of the city and improved. And then if it's not within your arena, if it's not something that you can control, don't stop there. Because you don't always have to have all the resources to do the job. If you got an idea, you think that Steve Jobs had all of the resources when he founded Apple or Pixar? He have all the resources. But he had an idea, and what he did was he took his idea to other people and he get people to invest in your idea. So if you all have great ideas, bring them to me, bring them to the other members of the commission. Encourage us to invest and then say, have a plan. This is how you can help us to reach our goal. Follow me? So those are the sorts of things that I would ideally like to see emanate from this board. Again, I want to express my appreciation to each of you for doing what you're doing. You could be doing anything, especially spending time on your cell phone, but you chose to learn about the city and to be engaged in this way. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Does any member of the board have a question for Mayor Henry?
No question? No? Okay. All right, so well, let me give you all this. My email address is Henry, Henry, D, at codb.us. My phone number is 671-386-671-8007. Now, if you have an idea, you got a thought, probably the best way to communicate with me is by email. Send me a message and let's talk, and if there's somewhere you think I ought to be, something I should be doing, I'm all ears for that too. In conclusion, thanks for your service, and I look forward to seeing some great things come from the board, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mayor,
Thank you.
for presenting.
We will now move on to item number 5, matters for consideration. Madam Clerk, please report.
Okay. So, again, thank you, Mayor, for presenting to us. You guys, we talked about the Youth Council Summit information. So in the next week, I'm going to be emailing out to everyone like a waiver, a form, a parental consent and guardian for those of you who want to attend. So again, the youth summit that we would like to attend is in October 12th. That's a Saturday, and it's from 9 to 4. And the city will provide transportation. That's why we're going to do the waiver. So check your emails for that, because that's when I'll be sending stuff out. And one of the other things that we wanted to talk about is our Christmas parade. So every year our city has Christmas parade, and we would very much like for the board to put a float into the Christmas parade and participate in our Christmas parade. I walk it every year. It's really fun. So as soon as I get information on how we apply to be a quote-unquote vendor for that, I will bring that back to the board, and then you guys will decide and vote on how you want to decorate your float, or how you want to present in the parade. And to piggyback on what the mayor is saying, if for the next meeting that we have, which will be September 25th, which is a Wednesday, and we'll go back to our 4:30. We were trying to accommodate the mayor's schedule to get him here to speak to y'all. So for the next meeting, if you can bring back to the board for discussion, and we'll take a vote on priorities or ideas for volunteering or things that you would like to see to present to the mayor and the city commission. So that's your homework for next month. And then we'll go ahead and have a discussion, and then you guys will vote as a board on what you want to do. Okay, and that's all I have to present on, Mr. Chair.
We will now take comments from the public.
Is there any member of the public that would like to speak to the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll go.
There being no other discussion, this meeting is.
Or do we want to do comments and questions from, I'm sorry.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? There being no other discussion, this meeting is adjourned.